You ever go back to a game you loved as a kid, expecting it to be just as good as you remember? That was me with Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on PC. In my head, it was sprawling magical adventure, running through Hogwarts, casting spells, finding secrets, collecting an absurd amount of beans. It felt huge, like the kind of game that truly lets you live in the wizarding world. So how does it hold up? Hey guys, it's Neurotalk Gaming here, and today I want to tell you about the Harry Potter adaptation that still brings the warmest feelings for me. It is a childhood memory, but also in many ways it's a childish game, but I think it deserves to be remembered despite some of its flaws. So let's dive right into it. Well, for anyone who played this back in the day, you might be a little thrown off by what you see right now. It's probably not quite how you remember it, and there's a reason for that. See, Chamber of Secrets isn't just one game. It's actually a bunch of completely different games depending on what platform you played it on. I will go more in detail about it later, but suffice to say this was the early 2000s when developers didn't just make a single version and port it everywhere. No, they handed the most basic concept to different teams and each one basically made their own version of Chamber of Secrets. So if you played this on PC, PlayStation 2 or Game Boy, you all technically played different games. Here we will be talking about PC version, and this is more of an adventure game out of the bunch. It's also, in my completely subjective opinion, the best one. I'll explain why in a second, but the short version is this. The console version is often considered the superior game because it has better models, a bigger Hogwarts, and follows the story more coherently. But in doing all of that, it kind of forgot the most important part: being fun. It's a solid movie adaptation, sure, but the PC version is a game. As many games of its era, it's weird, it's loose, and it's just packed with things to mess around with. The level design is all over the place in the best way possible. The story is told in haphazard, blink and you miss it kind of way, and yet it feels like the game designed to be played with. There's something hidden behind every wall, every corner, almost no loading screens in Hogwarts, and practically every object in the game reacts to you in some way. It just wants you to explore, to poke at things, to see what happens. It doesn't just throw cutscenes at you and move you from one scripted set piece to the next, it actually gives you control over everything you do. And yeah, the game is easy, incredibly so, but that just makes it more fun. Low effort way to lose yourself in Hogwarts for a while. One of the best things about this game is that it respects your time. There's no bloated tutorial sections, no lengthy exposition dumps, it just throws you in and lets you figure it out. You wake up in the burrow, run around for a few minutes, and then you're off to Hogwarts. Within the first hour you've already learned couple spells, explored parts of the castle, and probably found at least 10 secret areas completely by accident. And for a game released in 2002, it actually looks quite good. Not in hyper detailed cutting edge way, but in a way that gives Hogwarts a warm storybook-like charm. The lighting is soft, the colors are vibrant, and even though the textures are simple, they work. Hogwarts feels cozy, lived in, like a place you want to spend time in. One thing though, to get this game working normally on wide screens you would need some tinkering. I will leave the links in the description for any of you who wants to do that. Continuing on, for the longest time it was one of my favorite games to play at times like Christmas, not because of holiday vibe necessarily, but exactly because it felt so cozy and nice to be in. It's not meditative experience like Skyrim I recently discussed, it's more of a nice toy experience. Almost like finding your old Game Boy with Pokemon or Street Fighter cartridge installed and putting it on to poke around. You might ask, is this nostalgia speaking? Probably, but also for some damn reason nowadays franchise games are all about politics and unnecessary open worlds and all that nonsense, and you can't really get this feeling from anything coming out right now. Unless you look at indies market, but then you don't get your favorite IP. So, what about character models? Alright, I won't lie, those haven't aged gracefully. Harry's face looks like it was stretched over mannequin, and a lot of NPCs have the expression of someone who just woke up from a 200-year nap. But honestly, this jankiness kinda adds to the charm of the game. The animations though are great, spells have satisfying oomph when they hit, and objects react in a way that makes the game feel playful. Cast Flipendo on a suit of armor, it tumbles dramatically, launching a pile of beans into the air, like it's putting on a show. Open a chest, the beans don't just sit there, they explode out like confetti. Everything feels fun. The coolest feature of the game is that it keeps you moving. It doesn't slow you down with complicated mechanics or force you to memorize 100 different controls. You're running, jumping, casting spells, and that's basically it. Spells, the game chooses them for you. You don't have to think about what to use, it automatically equips whatever you need at the moment. You just press the button and let it fly. It keeps everything fast and fluid. No fumbling through menus, no second guessing yourself, just point, cast, and move on. And yet, despite the simplicity, the game never feels shallow. A lot of that comes to how Hogwarts itself is designed. It's not just a hub for missions, it's fully interactive space filled with secrets, hidden rooms, and weird little details that reward curiosity. If something looks suspicious, there is a good chance there's something behind it. And weird statue? Probably pushable. A weird crack in the wall? Almost definitely a secret passage. And unlike a lot of other versions of Chamber of Secrets, this Hogwarts is seamless. No constant loading screens breaking up exploration, no stiff room transitions. It feels like one big interconnected space. The only problem is that it actually does not represent Hogwarts as in movies. While being very simplistic, it even adds a small upgrade system for us to engage in. Many of Hogwarts students would be happy to trade the beans that you're finding all around for collectibles and buffs in certain minigames. As such, you can buy bronze wizard cards from people, and collecting 10 improves your max health. Also, Ron's brothers would be happy to sell you upgrades to your Quidditch equipment for exorbitant sums of money. It also rewards you for doing all the levels and minigames fast and nicely by giving you house points. And the top house every week gives you access to bonus bean room, where you can stock up on your currency. And if that wasn't enough, there's even a bit of Metroidvania in here. As you unlock new spells during lessons, more of Hogwarts opens up to you. At the start, you might just walk past some vines blocking your way, or a platform that leads you to some new area with no way to interact with it. Hours later, when you've learned a new spell, you realize, wait, I can go back there now. That feeling of slowly gaining more control over the environment, of remembering places you couldn't reach before, is incredibly satisfying. So, the question is it a perfect game? Well, EA, who had the rights to Harry Potter IP, did what EA does best. Make the worst possible business decision for the sake of squeezing out more money. Instead of focusing on making one great game, they split the budget between multiple developers to make different versions for different platforms. So, instead of single, definitive Harry Potter game, we got several completely different ones, each doing their own thing. And while PC turned out to be one of the best, at least in my opinion, it still suffered from the effects of that decision. Like I said before, the game is ridiculously easy. Now, I actually enjoy casual games, that's not inherently a problem, but what is a problem is the complete lack of difficulty settings. As it turns out, there wasn't even developer's choice. One of the devs mentioned in an interview that they originally planned for multiple difficulty levels, but they got cut due to budget constraints. So, since EA was marketing the game primarily towards non-gamers, they left in only the easiest difficulty. And honestly, that kind of sucks. The core gameplay is fun, but it would have been great to have some options for a bit more challenge, especially in combat. As it stands, fights feel more like a formality than an actual test of skill. If you're even slightly competent at video games, you'll breeze through every enemy without a second thought. Even something as simple as enemies having more health or doing more damage could have made a huge difference. The lack of budget didn't just affect the difficulty, it also hit the storytelling hard. As I mentioned before, the Chamber of Secrets doesn't really take its time with the plot. Instead, it just sprints from one event to the next, cutting out anything that might just slow things down. There is no real build-up, no tension, no sense that things are escalating as the mystery of Chamber unfolds. You just kind of go through the motions. Events from the books happen, sure, but they're so rushed that they're barely registered. So, the plot overall is like watching a movie in fast forward, where you get the basic gist of what's happening but none of the depth. It's not like I expected a fully fleshed out retelling of the book anyway, but even compared to other versions of the game, the PC version does the absolute bare minimum when it comes to storytelling. It's clear that the focus wasn't on delivering an immersive narrative, it was on making sure players always had something to do. And while that makes gameplay more engaging, it also means the story feels like an afterthought. Now, before I forget, I want to say one big plus of this game is its soundtrack. Written by no other than Jeremy Soule, the one behind Skyrim and other Elder Scrolls, it is surprisingly good. It's not taken directly from the movies, but it absolutely nails the whimsical, mysterious and adventurous tone of Harry Potter. The music is playful when you're exploring Hogwarts, dramatic during spell challenges, and eerie when things take darker turn. This game isn't trying to be a perfect adaptation of the movie, it's just trying to be a good game. And honestly, that's why it still holds up. It's a game made to be played, not just watched. It's fast, simple, fun, and packed with secrets in a way that keeps it engaging the whole way through. And its flaws do not really detract from the experience. Is it easy? Yes. Is it a little janky? Absolutely. But does it feel magical? 100% it does. This is what Harry Potter games should feel like. Okay guys, thank you a lot for watching. This is Neurotalk Gaming signing off. If you like this video, you know what to do. If you didn't like it, you also know what to do. So, thank you a lot for listening and see you in the next one.